that. All right, good evening, everyone. All right, welcome. Hopefully you can hear me. Is there a way I can raise this up? All right, very good. Well, I'm so excited to see everyone. My name is Sean Edmund Rogers. I'm Dean of the College of Business and the Alfred J. Verrecchia Hasbro Incorporated Leadership Chair here at URI, and welcome to our CFO Roundtable, hosted by the College of Business and supported by the University of Rhode Island. We're in for a treat tonight. We're in for a treat. We're going to hear from leaders in our industry, local leaders, folks who are dealing with local, regional, national, and international issues that affect each and every one of us. I know we have students here representing all of our majors and even those outside of the College of Business who are very interested in what's happening in the realms that these individuals work in and lead in. So I'm excited. I'm excited that our College of Business is able to do this under the leadership of Professor Michael Ice and with the help of our executive in residence, Deb Imondi, and then our faculty are here. Just so many. This was a team effort. It certainly takes a team to pull something like this off, so I'm not going to necessarily start individually thanking people because I will certainly forget someone. I just want to say thank you to each and every person who was involved in this effort. I also want to thank the URI administration, and they'll have their own chances to come up and share some words with you, but President Mark Perlange and Provost Barbara Wolf and so many others are here, Vice President Abby Benson, and just so many. So I'm appreciative. I see some alums. I see some of our Dean's Advisory Council members from the College of Business and some board members from the URI Foundation. We've just got everyone here, and it's so exciting. It's so exciting to see your support and participation from our URI College of Business, the flagship business school here of our state of Rhode Island. So without further ado, I am going to introduce the 12th president of the University of Rhode Island, Mark B. Perlange, to share some words. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Great to see everyone here this evening. I'd like to begin, as we always do, with the University Land Acknowledgement. The University of Rhode Island occupies the traditional stomping ground of the Narragansett Nation and the Niantic people, and we honor and respect the enduring and continuing relationship between the indigenous people in this land by teaching and learning more about their history and present-day communities, and by becoming stewards of the land we too inhabit. I also want to, like Dean Sean Rogers, warm welcome. I had the pleasure of going with Professor Michael Ice last year to be able to see, and we really thought that this was so important to be able to share with our students. Our students, as you know, are the best and the brightest and the strongest. Our finance students represent, Sean was telling me earlier, 1/4 of our student body. It's really fantastic that they go through not only 321, but many of them also have an opportunity to work on the RAM Fund with Prof. Deb and Prof. Mike. And so I think that that's just wonderful. We have a lot of good connections with industry, and so we're very pleased that our students do, as part of their education here, have internships. They're extremely successful in terms of placements afterward. But I just want to make a warm welcome to the panel. I know you are all incredibly busy, but this connection, and who knows where it will go from this evening, but we're really proud of our College of Business and all the good work. So delighted to welcome you here. And with that, Michael, I pass to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome, everybody. URI CFO Roundtable is now in its 3rd year. We meet twice a year, either on campus or generously hosted at one of the headquarters. These individuals make the financial decisions of the major corporations of this state. The opportunity to discuss current topics, challenges, and insights is fascinating and to bring that back to the classroom is powerful. We are truly appreciative of our corporate partners. I'd like to welcome new members, John Conforte, Ocean State Job Lot, CFO, URI 77. John, welcome. Tom Cowie, CBS. Unfortunately, Tom called a couple days ago to say that he's got pulled away, so Tom will not be able to join us tonight. And then also I'd like to acknowledge Kevin Ingram, FM Global CFO, who has been a tremendous member of the party, but he was unavailable today. I'd like to introduce this evening Deborah Mundy, our Executive in Residence for Finance at URI BA 82, Executive MBA 86. I will do my best Gene Valicenti impersonation and a brief introduction of our stage. So Frank Connor, Textron CFO, John Conforti, Ocean State Job Lot CFO, James P. Loring Jr., Amica CFO, Robert Murray, Gilbane Inc. CFO, and Ron Olsberg, Washington Trust CFO. All right, let's begin. So in preparation, every article I read states that the top challenges for CFOs now will, as we approach a potential slowdown in the economy, pressure will be put on improving efficiency. So every article I read was efficiency. Putting greater focus on efficiency. So do we have the modern comprehensive technology to evaluate, identify the right investments to drive growth, and how do you feel you are set up for this and what drives your strategy? Anybody want to take a shot? Sure, Jim.
I will. I borrow one of these? You know, when I hear that question,
Jim, just push this button up.
push this button. Hello. Hey.
There we go.
All right, yeah, right. No, so, you know, listening to the question, digesting it, the first thing that comes to mind is data. Do we have the tools? And, you know, we do. We have the software, and, you know, I think most all our companies are trying to harness the power of that. But when it comes to efficiency, it's really how do you measure it? And using your data, I'm a big fan of dashboards, trying to get to the essence of what I need to keep my eye on or the pulse of the company on, and using data to come up with metrics that make it easy to see a good line of sight across the organization is really how you control it. Now, when it comes to efficiency, I think any time that I'm in front of a group of leaders for my company, that's the first thing on my agenda, is to talk about how we can make things better, how we can invest in technology and process improvements, because ultimately that drives the profit and health of the company. And just keeping that forefront of everybody's mind, I think, is very effective, because when you think of your expenses, that's the one thing that everybody in the organization can control and take part in and move forward. So I'm a big advocate of keeping that message front and center and letting them bring ideas up, how I can use data and technology to improve things.
Thank you. Anybody else want to take a shot?
Yeah, I'll just add a few words to that. We think about it a lot. We think that we're a pretty efficient business to begin with, but we're spending a lot of time lately looking at processes. It's process. How do we make things easier for our employees? How do we make things easier and better for our customers? In simplifying processes as much as possible before we start thinking about automation. It's really, don't automate something that you shouldn't be doing. You know, really look hard at every step and every process and pull out everything that's unnecessary, and then think about automating.
Hey, excuse me. Honored to be here, by the way. Yeah, there's a foundational concept called people, process, and systems, right? I think it's been around for a while, true today, and efficiency is a component of every one of those processes as the world changes every day, and it's been changing pretty rapidly lately. So I think it's very important for competitive reasons that companies always focus on efficiency in a responsible way.
Sure, I'll add to that. And I agree with everything everybody said, obviously. A couple of things in our business. I work for Gilbane, a construction management company. I'm still amazed. I walk into some trailers that are on the jobs, and I still see a whiteboard. I still see stickums. And you look, and I'm an accountant. I said, well, what is all that? It's their process. They're not using Excel. They're not using whatever software may be out there, but it makes them feel better to have this whiteboard about as large as that wall with all stickums on it and time frames. And everyone walks in the door, and the first thing they do is look at the whiteboard. All right? Everyone may say it's all about the technology and the software, et cetera, but I can tell you, in the field, it's not always like that. They walk through the door, and they see the whiteboard, and they look at the stickum, they look at the date and what's supposed to be done, what needs to be delivered, what's the time frame, when's it coming, how's it going to work. So it's real. So it's not everybody is going to data and going to technology. Sometimes the simplest way is to look at the whiteboard and see where the stickums are.
Yeah, I just lastly add to that. I mean, again, I think my colleagues here have talked about everyone has technologies, everyone has tools. Whether you're worried about an economic downturn or not, productivity and efficiency is kind of table stakes these days in a global economy. But ultimately, it takes the people to implement that productivity and efficiency. So I think, you can use those tools, use the technology, the whiteboards, SAP, whatever technology tool you want. But I think organizations also talk a lot about a culture of productivity and a culture of efficiency and challenging the employees to come up with ideas about how to do things better and make things better and continue to improve processes in an organization.
Great, thank you. First of all, I want to start by thanking you as well for being willing to share your wisdom and your insights with our faculty, our staff, and especially our students and our invited guests. So thank you all for being here. Certainly, COVID has changed the world we live in and given us all the opportunity to learn how to work and to study remotely. Now, in the post-COVID world, at least I hope it's the post-COVID world, many are still wanting to work remotely or in some hybrid fashion. Additionally, Bernie Sanders just introduced a bill to Congress suggesting we go to a 4-day work week. Where does your company stand on remote versus in-person or in-office working? And would a 4-day work week work for your companies and industries?
Well, I'll start. We never went hybrid or remote. We went remote during the kind of the throes of the pandemic, but we always had a focus on being back in the office. Textron is an aerospace and defense company, and so we were deemed a critical business, so our factories stayed open during COVID, and frankly, from a leadership standpoint and a management standpoint, we had a hard time reconciling office workers being home or working hybrid and working remote, and people needing to go into the factory and producing, our product. But I guess also at another level, I just believe that you lose something when you are remote, that in-person activity is hugely important for a properly functioning organization. We saw what happened with schools and learning in a remote environment, and I think the same is true in an office culture. So we have what we call a 980 type of framework where we have every other Friday off in most of our organizations, but we are 100% in the office otherwise, and talk a lot about that. And I would say that the pressure we see, frankly, in terms of dialogue around this, is not coming from the early career people and the folks in this room who largely want to come into our organization and learn and be led. It's coming from sometimes our middle managers. And I tell those people, I don't pay you to be a manager, I pay you to be a leader. And you can manage tasks remotely, but you cannot lead remotely. And so in terms of just organizational leadership and growth and dynamics, we're very focused on being an in-office culture.
I can share with Ocean State Job Lot, we were considered an essential retailer during COVID with the food and health and beauty, household chemicals, et cetera, that we sell. So we found ourselves with having our store associates having to come into work, creating some incentives for them. The same with our distribution center. In our office, however, for us, we largely went remote, even though yours truly was showing up almost every day. But you know, and coming out of COVID, we transitioned to a 2-day hybrid scenario. We're now at a 3-day hybrid scenario. I think ownership would love to have, you know, 5 days. And for us, it's really just about now that we've gone through the COVID phase, that our associates are working in our stores, associates are working in the distribution center, and for many of the reasons you talked about, I think, you know, the remote may work for certain people, and there's always facts and circumstances, but I think there's an element of loyalty and culture that gets missed with fully remote work.
Ron, I got to put you on the spot.
Yeah. So we're, I would say, largely hybrid at this point, and it feels like it's permanent to me at the moment. That would exclude the branches, obviously. So throughout the pandemic, branch personnel, which makes up a large percentage of our staffing, did have to go in. We did have operations people and facilities people that had to go in. Most everyone else was able to work remotely. The technology has worked great. I would say for the large part, we're not seeing a drop in productivity. But I agree with Frank that I think you lose something, that you lose the spontaneous interactions, the collaboration. It's not the same. I mean, the technology is way better than it used to be. It's not a conference call anymore, but there's nothing like just being able to walk into someone's office and work through a problem. That just doesn't happen as much when everything's kind of formalized and you need to set up a Zoom call. So we're in an interesting place, but I'll tell you, the people that are working remotely get a lot of value out of it. You know, if they've got child care issues, if they've got parental care issues, we hear that a lot. So it really does help people flexibly manage their day. We can see that they're online at 7, 8 o'clock at night at times because they had to take some time off in the afternoon to do something. So yeah, it's an interesting place where we are right now, but we seem to be mostly hybrid.
Yeah, I can comment on Amica. So Amica, in case you don't know, we're in the personal lines, which is personal auto, home, life insurance. We have anywhere between 3,500 to 4,000 employees nationwide. So accidents don't happen 4 days a week, right? So it's 24/7, 7 days a week. Someone's there doing something. So to me, that issue, it's really about scheduling, right? So I'm sure we can find compromises for flexible work schedules. We're very open to that, but we're a hybrid model where 3 days in the office, 2 days remote. We try to make it work. We leave it up to the managers to make it work, except for our IT group. So they're fully remote. That happened during COVID. I'll never see those people again. You know, three-dimensionally, right? It's always just going to be on Zoom. But, you know, some of the benefits, though, we're able to hire people now nationally for our home office to do some work fully remote. Happy to do that. So it opens up the talent pool. And to your comment on careers, yeah, what I find is, okay, so when you're entry level, it's great. You know, you can work at home, but if you really want to learn, the more you come into the office and get the experience to be able to interact with your teams is very helpful. And as you're progressing up the ladder, I'm in the office a lot, but you know, I'll admit I'm, you know, flexible as well. Sometimes there are things where it really works for me to be home and I can work from home, and I really like that. But when I'm in the office and I see my management team, I know who's there, and I know who's not, and I know who's putting in the effort and who is excelling. So, just getting the face time with my teams just helps me understand career paths and how to manage my team as well. So, if you're really career-minded, it helps to be in the office and just put all your skills on display.
I'll finish it up. My story is I have my middle daughter. Somebody in the room knows my middle daughter quite well. She's an FP&A for a Boston company, and she will tell me whenever I ask that she is not going back to the office ever. It's generational to me. I mean, she's 30. She enjoys being at home. She has a couple of kids, and it works for her. It works very well for her. If she was to get on a train every day, get up to Boston, it would not work. The amount of stress that she would endure day in, day out would be substantial. So I respect her decision, but I'll go back to what Frank and Ron said. It's hard for her to be a manager and to build culture, understand the culture of her company by being at home. So it's a very difficult question. There's no right, there's no wrong answer. It's the philosophy, and a lot of people have a different philosophy on this topic. So it's going to be ongoing. I'm not sure what the ultimate answer will be, but it'll be difficult.
Fair enough. Tim, do you want to add something?
No, I was just going to say, an interesting tidbit to that, too, is I've had a few people now on my team who have left to be fully remote, because once we went to hybrid, they didn't want it, and it was a lifestyle choice, who have since come back, where they thought fully remote would work for them, and in some cases it does. But they missed the people, and they missed the interaction, and you don't realize what you have sometimes until it's gone. So different strokes for different folks.
Thank you. Switching gears a little, we have a lot of students in attendance tonight, and I get asked this question frequently: accounting versus finance as a corporate finance track or CFO track. Last year we reintroduced our dual major, accounting finance. I thought a couple ambitious students would do it, and we're 24 and growing the last I checked. So in addition, what qualities, skills, and characteristics are you looking for when you hire employees? Do you hire predominantly finance and accounting majors? And do you have a preference?
Well, I'll start. We certainly try to hire both. And frankly, I think that ultimately, in order to be a CFO, you have to understand accounting and you have to understand finance, obviously. And I think to be, kind of a more senior person within the financial part of any organization, you need to understand both. Now, I have a finance background. I don't know technical accounting. I don't know SEC reporting or anything else, but I know my way around an income statement, a cash flow statement, and a balance sheet, and how they work, and how things flow, and throughout the financial statements is all of that. Likewise, if I expect my accounting people to understand how the business runs, how to think about cost, how to think about forecast, how to interact with other areas of the organization. So I think each of those disciplines is a good thing to have. I don't think you necessarily have to study both, but business life is a constant learning experience, just like school is a constant learning experience. So if you expect to be successful in a financially or accounting-oriented career, I think, kind of both areas of skill sets need to be developed over time. And I think anyone here would tell you that they have both financial and accounting skill sets, despite, whatever background they come from.
Well, they're making us share a mic. I don't know if you just don't want me to talk.
Yeah, so I actually double majored in accounting and finance here at URI, and it was, I think, really beneficial to me. And I went into public accounting, so I did kind of the CPA track. And my focus of emphasis was mostly on accounting for most of my career. But I will tell you that once I left public accounting, First, I went to Fleet Boston Financial, which is now part of Bank of America, and then Citizens Financial Group. Having the finance side of thing was really helpful to me and kind of gave me an advantage relative to other, more pure accounting people. I do think the two skills are very interrelated, but they're different. Accounting is more focused on historical, the general ledger, financial reporting, internal control. Finance is more on the analytical side and making investment decisions. They really dovetail nicely. Frank, I agree with you. The higher up you go in the organization, I think the more important it is to have some of both. So I think it's a great idea that you open that back up and allow that to happen.
I'll add on to that. Is that what? No, flip it up. All right. Just leave it on. Sorry. Yeah. Like Ron, I graduated with both majors. I originally started as a finance major, and thought, well, okay, let me take these accounting classes. They're interesting, and I ended up having enough for two majors. And then when I graduated, the best offer that I had was with PricewaterhouseCoopers, so I went there. And having both really accelerated my career, because not only auditing, but it helped me understand the insights of the business. And then I found along, my career journey, post-public accounting, I just found myself doing a lot of finance work. So investment valuations, managing portfolios, M&A activity. So they really complement each other. So you have to have the capability to have that finance acumen, but understanding the financials and making sense out of it was helpful as well. So I agree.
Can I ask Mike a question? Sure. If you only have an accounting degree, I came out with an accounting degree, do you feel they are at a disadvantage in the world of finance, if you will?
I would say no. I mean, I think what I've seen, you can go either way. But if you're a finance major, you have to know your accounting. And I stress it heavily with my students. And if you're an accounting major, eventually you're going to make the financial decisions, so you're going to have to learn finance. So can you get it from both directions? Yes. Would anybody? Okay. Deb?
So my background was in accounting here, and I'm very proud of my accounting degree. But I think that all of you, whether your major is accounting or finance, you should be proud of that, that degree. I think the school offering a dual major is a real plus, and I think all things being equal in a hiring situation, when you have someone with a dual major applying for a same job, and again, all things being equal, that person that has a combination of accounting and finance, and we spoke about this, accounting, gives you a core foundational background and historical structure to business, whereas finance will introduce more strategy and big picture type thinking. It can really be an advantage. But there's plenty of opportunity postgraduate. If that doesn't happen, for me, after accounting and getting a CPA, I ended up studying for the CFP back in the mid-'80s, which really helped bridge that accounting gap for me, and was very helpful even in my work as a CFO today.
I think after this discussion tonight, we're going to have more than 24 dual majors. One of my responsibilities here at the University of Rhode Island is to increase the diversity of our finance students. And as well, diversity, equity, and inclusion is a big focus here at the university. Are you satisfied with the diversity in your organizations? And to what extent does your company pursue diversity? And how could we both universities and the workplace, increase diversity?
I'll start. We have a great emphasis on diversity. I received some statistics today from our Rhode Island group. We have over 40% of our Rhode Island workers are women. we're basically engineering type company, if you will. So we're proud of that. 54 URI grads, by the way, are on staff, which probably 3 Providence College grads. I'm a PC grad. But I think it's a big component of a lot of our conversations on a daily basis. How do we increase diversity? We have, in the construction industry, we start in high school. There's a group called ACE that's a national organization that we're very involved with, and it starts in the freshman year of high school, where we try to get them either involved in the trades or in engineering, architectural work. It doesn't matter, but it's an ongoing process for us, and it's been going on for years. Now, Gilbane has made a commitment of providing over $4 billion worth of work over a 4 or 5 year period to diversified firms, women, minority, veterans, et cetera. So we have put a great emphasis on that for an extended period of time. We're proud of that.
Thank you.
So, I mean, we're very focused on this as well, as you might imagine, given the world that we live in and, the importance of this. We focus on college hiring activities for our intake in our organization, and we hire thousands of people every year. We hire lots of engineers. We hire lots of finance people, IT people. We tend to benchmark ourselves with regard to that type of activity against that available pool. So if we look at the available pool of engineers in terms of the demographics of those engineers, we would love to outperform relative to what colleges are providing, but we want to at least perform in line with what we are seeing. And we pretty much meet those benchmarks. So as we look at, be it women hiring, minority hiring, kind of various categories of diversity, we are very focused on, kind of being very, very active through that hiring process, and at least, kind of trying to meet that existing pool and hopefully improve on that existing pool. And then it's about retention, frankly, I talked about, we are an in-office culture, but we do provide flexibility, and we work with people, kind of to try and retain them and meet life's challenges and things like that. But we also look at, once we hire a group of individuals at each level of the organization, how are we retaining, how are we promoting, how are we continue to, provide leadership opportunities for that pool of people that we bring into the organization. So, and it's a regular topic, as you might imagine, at the senior management level, at the board level, on a very regular basis.
So our business is very embedded in the communities. We're a retail community bank, and we're very focused on this. We've got an ESG policy. The description of our ESG activities is on our website. DEI, same thing. We're putting lots of emphasis on that. We've recently rolled out employee resource groups that address different constituencies within the company, and we think it's really important for us to reflect the communities that we're out there serving every day.
Yeah, and as far as DEI initiatives, it's a big priority and agenda for us. Glad to say, when it comes to our new hires and people just starting their careers with us, we're at our benchmark and targets, and it's very diverse. So we're really happy with the people that are joining our company and what it represents. I think our challenge is the leadership group that we have right now. We have room to move there, and that's just something that's front and center with us. And we just keep it a priority. We're investing in everything that we need to do there, and I think it just needs some time. But it's definitely something not only us but everybody in our industry is focused on.
And for us, a significant component of our mission, vision, values is a commitment to people. And within that commitment to people is a commitment to respect diversity. I will tell you, our CEO, Mark Perlman, from the time the company was just a couple of stores, basically had the attitude when it came to hiring that, I don't care what your religion is, I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care the color of your skin. Can you do a good job? You know, can you do a good job? And that culture, if you will, okay, does start at the top. But I do believe, you know, diversity is like many things, a continuous improvement process, and education is really important for us. We have 153 stores right now spread throughout the Northeast, and when you have so many decentralized locations, having a program of ongoing education and, quite honestly, discipline, because things happen that shouldn't happen and there needs to be consequences. So I think we're doing a very good job, and we can always do better.
Thank you. And this one, I'm going to tell you, humor the professor here. And really, this is really to the two public companies represented. I'm beginning to read now, with current interest rates where they are, more companies are considering issuing additional stock versus debt at current yields. Stock is still expensive without the tax incentive of debt, and dilution is not thought to be a good thing. Are companies considering? What's the thought process?
Well, I think you should know that equity is more expensive than debt, right?
Yes.
So as a finance professor. So look, I don't think that interest rates are at a level where you're seeing companies look to issue equity, you know, instead of debt because of cost. I do think that we've gone through it. We went through a cycle of enormous liquidity where capital was always readily available, and now it's not. So I think, if anything, I think companies are much more cognizant of the fact that they need to have access to capital, particularly young companies. There were a lot of young startup companies that started raising debt rather than equity because debt was free and they thought that was a real source of liquidity, and it turns out it's really not a source of long-term liquidity for an early stage company. So the thing that kills companies is lack of liquidity. It's not cost of capital, right? A 50 basis point increase in cost of capital is never going to kill a company, but not having the dollars to fund growth is. And so I think that that's kind of becoming more prevalent again in people's minds, certainly early stage companies, around access to liquidity and long-term capital, and therefore, you know, making equity more attractive even in a lower valuation environment. But no, as a public company, I don't think about it that way at all. You know, shifting equity to debt or debt to equity, you know, kind of doesn't move our cost of capital in any real meaningful way.
Yeah, I would say in the banking industry, generally, the industry's been considered adequately to well capitalized. I think most of the larger banks, for instance, are really doing share repurchase programs rather than issuing stock. And to Frank's point, I mean, we're actually not raising any kind of capital right now because we're adequately capitalized. So yeah, I would also say that currently bank stock valuations are relatively down. Our multiples are down. So that's another reason not to be kind of issuing stock at a kind of a low point in the cycle. But so that's what we're doing.
When I look at the 5 companies on this dais, I realize how important they are to the Rhode Island economy. And when I think of how your companies have impacted me personally, I spent 25 years working at Textron, 25 of the best years of my life, Frank. I had a brother who worked for many, many years with Amica. I bank with Washington Trust. I shop at Ocean State Job Lot.
You sit in a building at Gilbane.
And I'm sitting in and luckily, CVS didn't show up tonight, so I don't have to admit that's where I get all my drugs. Okay, but actually, you are sitting in a beautiful auditorium in a beautiful building where the construction manager was Gilbane, and as well, Gilbane also built the Ryan Center, the Bradford Boss Arena, and some of our dormitories. So clearly, these 5 companies are very important to myself, to most Rhode Islanders, and certainly to URI. When I think of these companies, clearly the Rhode Island economy has become very dependent on these 5 companies for gainful employment and the goods and services that you provide. So my question to you gentlemen is this: how dependent are you on the Rhode Island economy? And then when you look to expand your businesses and grow your businesses, do you look locally? Do you look nationally and globally? Why?
I'll take it first. Being a construction manager, we go where the work is. And right now, the work in the United States is not here, generally speaking. The Midwest is killing it. Throughout Chicago, Columbus, Ohio, Milwaukee, into Minnesota. The cost of living here is so high, it's tough to continue to attract people from outside of the Northeast region. They look at the housing prices, they look at the taxes, they do their research, and they're happy we're remote because some of the people can work remotely. So when we look at growth, we're looking actually at the Midwest, the smile, if you will, from Atlanta kind of through Texas into California, and a lot in the Southeast, where taxes are lower, weather is better, and for the most part, people would rather live there. So it's difficult. We go where the work is, but the work right now, count the number of cranes in Rhode Island. It takes one hand. They only take 2 fingers. Go up to other cities, and it's amazing how many cranes are in there. You go down to Florida, it's crazy. Whether it's residential or commercial, it doesn't matter. It's busy down there. It is not busy up here. Boston may be the exception, but you can include Hartford, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Portland, Maine, all Rhode Island. It's a little discouraging, to be honest with you. I'm a Rhode Islander, grew up in Massachusetts, so it's discouraging to me to see what is occurring when you look nationally. On that positive note.
No, well, when I think of Rhode Island and I think of Amica, I grew up here in Rhode Island, spent my career in other states, but it's good to be back here. And Amica is almost 120 years old. So Rhode Island's just part of their DNA. And as far as our corporate office and our campus, of the 3,500 people that I mentioned that work there, about half of it is here in Rhode Island. And when it comes to hiring, yes, we hire a number of Rhode Islanders and Massachusetts people. But this is where we look first for our corporate offices, depending on the job. But 99% of everybody is sourced here. And it's great. And at the lower levels, so new people entering our company, there's a wealth of good talent coming out of universities and business schools like URI, Bryant, PC, Johnson & Wales. So we have a great talent pool right here. So we love it.
John, the Ocean State is no longer just the Ocean State.
No, but we are Ocean State job lot pretty much everywhere from Bangor, Maine to a number of locations in Pennsylvania, and actually thinking about a store in Maryland. So the logistics gets to be very interesting. But we are homegrown. The first store was in North Kingstown. I think it was the third store was in Wakefield, Rhode Island, and I think we have about 17. So I'd love to have 100 stores in Rhode Island. That's the reality. But the reality is there's the demographics, the population, the overall income just doesn't support it. So we try to, within the context of the Northeast, go where there's enough population that can give us enough volume in our stores to support our growth. So the good thing is that it's a beautiful state. The quality of living is here, and I would highly recommend, looking for job opportunities. But when you hear, about business rankings in the state of Rhode Island, it's a bit discouraging. And the leaders, are trying their best to improve that for everybody. So hope that continues.
Ron, nobody's more dependent on Rhode Island than you guys.
Well, so Washington Trust was founded in Westerly in 1800, so we're not a startup like Amica. But yeah, we are heavily connected to Rhode Island. Every one of our branches, except one, is in Rhode Island. Really, we think about ourselves as a Rhode Island institution. We do have some lending offices and some wealth management offices in Connecticut and Massachusetts. And we do a lot of commercial lending in Connecticut and Massachusetts. It's all, within a reasonable radius. But yeah, we're Rhode Island centric, and really our focus is in Rhode Island.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, thank you. I'd like to do some Q&A if everybody's on board. Will, come down, please, and Declan, please. I think that box there that has RI on it is a microphone. They're all ready.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
So, yeah, you hand the person the box and they speak into the box.
I thought you were going to throw it.
You can't throw it. We were at a conference last week where they were throwing them. Anybody question? Anthony? Over here. We'll go Anthony first, and then we'll come back to Kevin over here.
Thank you. Hi. So I imagine that during your time as company leaders, you encounter varying levels of discipline, motivation, and workplace commitment. Through your personal experiences, how do you create a shared end goal for your team, and how do you use that common end goal to motivate and lead your finance team?
Well, I guess I'll take a crack at it. So many situations are very different. But again, I talked before about, our view of being in an in-office environment is so important, and that's because of the teamwork involved. And so, what we try to create is an environment where you're working in teams, you're working on interesting problems, interesting situations, and there's a learning experience associated with it. I always tell my leadership group and kind of the managers under them that it's critically important to involve more junior people in the organizations in these meetings and in the decision making, because the way to kind of make, again, an in-office environment and a learning environment as rich as possible, I think, is to involve people and kind of show them the beginning, the middle, and the end of a process. And so it's about, kind of trying to involve people, as I said, in important undertakings, have them feel like they're really contributing to those undertakings, and becoming personally invested in those types of things, and where they can see growth for themselves, and at the end of the day, satisfaction in the work that they're doing.
Kevin, actually, I should have told Anthony this. Introduce yourself, first, last name, your year, and your major, please.
I bet. My name is Kevin Pinheiro. I'm a junior, and you said major, general business major. And this to everybody on the board. What do you think is your greatest accomplishment as a CFO?
There's no humility on this board.
When I look back on my career, and I'll focus on Amica, because what I accomplished there is one of the things that I'm most proud of is the building of the financial team that I built. I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of the people. And when I came there less than 15 years ago, they really needed a transformative effort. Not only the systems, but the skill sets needed to be modernized. We needed to move more to a higher level of financial acumen. And when I look at the team that I have now, just my accounting team, it's about less than 200 people, but I feel like I have my own CPA firm working for me, full of bright consultants that are engaged and add value across the organization, highly talented. They invest in themselves, and what I've told them is if you really want to succeed and have a career, I'll meet you halfway. making sure that my team gets developed, they have the educational opportunities. Right now, I started with, I was the only person with an MBA in that group when I started. Now there's 50. And that's just something that even the new students or the new employees come in, they're really engaged in learning. And it's been a great springboard for the rest of the organization. We have people moving out into different departments. And when I look back on that and just the change in the value that it created, I feel like I empowered that. And it's to me, it's a warm feeling to see everybody else succeeding. So
It shows. Next question. First question was Anthony Suarez, by the way, Senior Finance. Somebody else want to?
I just to comment really quick. I think for me, the working hard over the years and echoing Jim's comment about the teams that have been developed. I'm looking at a few very important people right now, but that we have from Ocean State Job Lot, and that's what makes a company tick, is dedicated and dedication and leadership. But when I just kind of reflect on that, I think the working hard to build the trust of our customers is something we don't take for granted and is critically important for us. You working hard to gain the trust of our associates and the importance of people is critically important, and we don't take anything like that for granted. And I feel pretty proud in the retail industry what we're trying to accomplish, what we accomplished yesterday, what we're accomplishing today, and what we're trying to accomplish for tomorrow. So, team building, mentorship, and trust is, and proud of the respect, for many years, because I've been with Job Lot for about 100 years now, and there really wasn't much, when people talked about Job Lot, there really wasn't much, call it respect. We were not high tech. We were not, manufacturing, and we were just in the retail industry. But I feel over the years, especially with the commitment to communities and philanthropy that we have as a company, we've really gained mutual respect with the communities that we work in, and I feel really good about that.
Thank you. Uh-oh. You're not a student anymore, but you were.
Nope, but I got the microphone. So my name's Mark Ewell. I graduated in 2016. Had the pleasure of being Professor Ice's first class, so that was awesome. My question for the table is, how would you say your companies are meeting the needs for cybersecurity? And to me, it just seems like, once a week you just hear another company's turn on the chopping block, and it's almost expected at this point, like whether it's like a data breach or ransomware. So yeah.
I'll go with that. I think every company's different. If I was Ron, I'd be very worried.
I am.
Me, I'm not as worried. Probably some people tell me I should be more worried because the data that we control and have access to, I don't think anybody cares. Generally, anybody cares about. Does anyone care about the size of this room? I don't think so. But I'm told by my CITO that that's not the right approach to take. That they will take any and all data and hold it ransom, and I'll be responsible for it. It's a little bit of a struggle between the chief information officers and maybe some others, because you can spend a lot of money with cybersecurity, millions and millions on top of millions of dollars. But you have to, in my mind, you have to remember what you're trying to protect and what value is it to someone else. And again, Ron, I'd be worried if I were you. But it depends what industry you're in, and it depends really how much you want to spend to protect that. So there's a lot of it. No right answer, by the way, but I can assure you we can spend tens of millions of dollars protecting the data, but the cost benefit of that is up for debate from where I sit.
Ron, I think you have to speak here.
I guess, within banking, you're dealing with people's life savings, right? And people put their money with a bank and they expect the bank to take care of it. And so it is, it's definitely, you know, one of the top priorities for the bank. We have a whole team on it. We hire third-party auditors to come in and run tests and pretend to be hackers and all kinds of penetration testing of our computer systems. It's a lot of work, and we take it very seriously. And I think, as Bob said, I mean, I think every organization needs to take it seriously. Everybody's got valuable data. Everybody can, be held up for ransom. So it's just a brave new world.
Next question.
My name's Anthony Grasso. I'm a junior finance major. My question is, have any of your companies implemented AI? And if so, how did that help or not help with finance and accounting?
So we're spending a lot of time on it. We have not with finance and accounting. So, it's very early days with AI, as all of you know, and there's a lot of press about it. There's a lot of people looking hard at it. I think there's a lot of things in a pre-production, if you will, environment where companies are utilizing it as various tools. But when you talk to the big accounting firms and consulting firms, at least we do, when you talk with Microsoft, who we spend a lot of time with, there's still a lot of people learning how to utilize it and what the right applications are. I will say we have used it in our aerospace business, though, from a service center perspective, and its ability to ingest data, ingest kind of videos, ingest text, ingest drawings and things like that, categorize them, and then make them into useful tools is really impressive. So it will be a great productivity tool, I think. I don't think it's going to, kind of take over the world and displace humans or anything else. But I think you'll see it as a great productivity tool in lots of applications, and you will see it in finance and accounting. But at least what I'm seeing so far is it's too early to really tell what those applications will be.
Okay, I was going to say for us, there's, first of all, a plug to the MBA program. We have the MBA capstone program here at URI, and we've engaged MBA students almost every year for over 10 years in really interesting projects. This latest one has to do with AI, so I'm anxiously awaiting, some of the results we're going to get from this. I think for us to, think topics like demand forecasting, and using the machine learning aspect of AI is something that's pretty intriguing. How applicable and what the cost is for all this is another issue. But, and then there are always things like personalization of ads when we're featuring ad items, and many companies are ahead of us on this. And I think there's, some interesting applications there. So, but one thing I will say is that even on basic tools like ChatGPT, and I don't think there's a day that goes by. We're a Google shop, and Google has their AI product it was originally called Bard, B-A-R-D, now it's called Gemini, and I'm on it every day. There isn't a day that goes by where I'm not on Gemini, just, following up on questions, drilling into things, learning, and it's incredibly helpful as a productivity tool.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, just share a story on where we used it, not necessarily in accounting per se, but it had a really good accounting result. So Amica, we're known for service, and we're, if you call us, we pick up the phone. We don't let you get lost in the phone trees, but we staff for that, so that's expensive. And we've been using AI and investing in chatbots and automating some of those service calls. We started dabbling with that a few years ago, and we've gotten really good at it. And seriously, who wants to really call, right? If you have a quick question you want an answer to, You go to the website, you'll try to find the answer, but now we have someone there called Ava that can help you. And when you run the numbers, we've saved now north of $25 million a year in just save personnel cost just by utilizing that technology. So it's real, and we're looking to do more on the claim side with that.
I think we have time for one more question. Oh, one more. You can catch a box. You can answer. You can ask a question.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Santos. I'm a junior dual major in FinTech and Business Analytical. The question is, how are you guys, your companies, handling the new financial technology and regulation laws that are out there?
So I didn't quite, which law?
Like the new financial, I know we just talked about AIs, but there's other financial technologies out there, there's blockchains and all of that stuff to organize your data and stuff like that, and the new regulations that are out there.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that we've really are just starting to get into things like that. So we're not really relying on any technology to help us with our reporting at the moment. I guess kind of just building on the AI question, I mean, we do use it for fraud detection and prevention. We're starting to use some robot process automation, but we have not yet used it yet for financial reporting.
Okay, thank you. So before we close, I would like to acknowledge someone who is truly responsible for making this roundtable happen tonight. Christine Andrews, executive assistant to the dean. CFOs of a major corporation is an extremely challenging role. Their schedules are not their own. Their travel is constant. I can't even begin to explain Christine's algorithms to how she does it. But we wouldn't be here tonight if it weren't for Christine. So thank you very much. And now I'd like to pass it to the provost for some closing comments. Dr. Barbara Wolf, please.
Well, please join me in terms of a round of applause for a big thank you to this panelist and a fabulous group of leaders. As you heard earlier today from Dean Rogers, the URI College of Business is a growing leader in finance education, certainly #1 in Rhode Island, kudos to you, but also in the region. And tonight is even an example of the informative programming and experiences that are provided here at the College of Business to our students that really has impact locally, certainly state, regionally, nationally, and internationally. As Rhode Island's flagship university, URI is committed to enhancing student achievement and fostering an inclusive culture. We are committed to increasing access to affordable, high-quality finance education to Rhode Island students and all who come to study here at URI. We're proud to be leading a pipeline of individuals to go into careers in the finance industry, talented individuals to contribute to businesses and firms in the state, across the nation, and the world. And we want C-suites to reflect the diversity and ingenuity of our country, and we know nationally and here in Rhode Island that this continues to be a challenge, as we heard today. We encourage our applicants and students to think big, and we're so grateful to all of our alumni who play an integral role in helping us recruit and expand the pipeline for finance industry talent. When we bring experts and executives to campus, we hope our students come away able to see themselves in the same positions as they progress in their careers as these individuals have here in front of you today. A big thank you to the College of Business for organizing this event, and thank you again to our panelists and their firms, and to everyone who joined us here this evening. Go Rhody.
Thank you. I think that we're done, and if, I think some of you gentlemen are willing to shake a hand and take an individual question if people would like to come down. They can't stay long. We've had them long enough, but thank you. Thank you, everybody.